Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel about Dungeons and Dragons where we try and take a darker tone with everything we do here. So if you like edgier kind of content, hit that like and subscribe button. Check us out on Patreon, and a big thank you to our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. What you guys do is amazing. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, the link is in the description. And a big shout out to our good friends at Dice Legion. Again, use the promo code Sinister, get 10% off all your purchases. Their link is also in the description. With that all out of the way, we're going to talk about the Order Domain Cleric. The Order Domain Cleric comes to us from Tashas Cauldron of Everything. This is the audacity to be a tyrant cleric. You're lawful as a cleric because you follow the tenets of your gods, you practice their practices, and you kind of preach their ideals to the world. The Order Domain Cleric is a cleric that loves and is fused by laws and regulations. So being lawful is really built into the kit. The other things about the kit that really scream leadership is the abilities that it gives you. It gives you commanding presence. It gives you reasons to force others to do things, kind of turning the tide of battle where you can make your players take certain actions when you feel it's necessary. This, with a little sprinkle of evil, makes you a very dynamic tyrant. As you are not as evil as a Death Domain Cleric would be, this gives you this great, noble villainy, where you can be that subtle villain that slowly creeps up throughout the story, where you're not just always good, but you're using the more prestigious sides of the clerics, where you have this connection to following the rules and being organized and keeping things nice and little kind of pretty compartments. But there's a secret tyranny to that. There's this nice subtle hint where you can be aggressive with that. And with that aggression and that desire to uphold the laws and the order of the land superseding things like compassion, you have a great, great scenario for being an evil cleric. Bonus proficiency. When you choose this domain at first level, you gain proficiency with heavy armor. You also gain proficiency in the intimidation or persuasion skill of your choice. This is something I would definitely lean towards intimidation for. When you're making commands, when you're building that authority, having a little bit of fear to back that up really, really fits in very well. You want to be a great Tywin Lannister-esque kind of a character. This is a great way to incorporate that. Your law has to be upheld. The great way to do that is to put some fear behind that. You don't have to have persuasion, but persuasion is a more commonly used skill than intimidation. But you're going to have bards and sorcerers and warlocks or Fey Wandering Rangers or Banneret fighters. A lot of classes that do already have a reason to go into charisma. Paladins would be a great choice. They all will almost definitely take persuasion, and you want to go against the grain here. Because of some of your skills and abilities, you want that intimidation behind you because you want to settle this connection outside of combat with that. And as a cleric, you don't get a lot of opportunities to be the face, but this is a great way to stand up for your party members when they're being bullied and hold down that law and stand virtuous in your ideal. Voice of Authority. Starting at first level, you can invoke the power of law to embolden an ally to attack. If you cast a spell with a spell slot of first level or higher and target an ally with the spell, that ally can use their reaction immediately after the spell to make one weapon attack against a creature of your choice that you can see. If the spell targets more than one ally, you choose the ally who can make the attack. This is always on. So Healing Word, any buffs you throw down, Shield of Faith, anything like that you throw on somebody, you're giving them an opportunity to make an attack. This is a great way to control and mitigate action economy. If you have a rogue that is in prime position to make an attack, they can get their sneak attack. There is no limit to distance. All it says is they make one weapon attack. So I'm going to assume that's going to be a melee weapon attack. It doesn't specifically say that you can't use a ranged weapon attack. It just says a weapon attack. So make sure to iron that out with your DMs. But if you have paladins, if you have barbarians raging, anything that's up front and ready to go, hexblades with hexblades curse on, this is a great opportunity to turn the tide of battle. If you're fighting undead and you have a paladin, get that paladin in there, that extra round of attack. A lot of the times when you see players fighting other NPCs, they collide and almost form like a shield wall. Very rare do the enemies move in or out. So unless you have a skill that gives you a reaction to make an attack when someone moves within your sphere of range, most of the time that reaction isn't going anywhere. If you don't have shield, absorb elements, that reaction isn't going anywhere. This is a great way to turn that over and give you an extra attack, which will help you win battles. Channel Divinity orders demand. Starting at 2nd level, you can use your Channel Divinity to exert an intimidating presence over others. As an action, you present your holy symbol, and each creature of your choice that you can see or hear you within 30 feet of you must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be charmed by you until the end of your next turn, or until the charmed creature takes any damage. You can also cause any of the charmed creatures to drop what they are holding when they fail the saving throw. Right off the bat, people see charm and automatically disillusion to this. Charm has a lot of issues. If you're fighting something that's immune to charm, any phase, not really your thing. But you're getting this at 2nd level. So you're going to be fighting goblins, you're going to be fighting bandits, you're going to be fighting orcs, you're going to be fighting hobgoblins maybe. You get things that are reasonable to fight. You won't be fighting a lot of undead. Maybe you are if it's that kind of a campaign, in which case turn undead would be better. But when they drop something, that's a whole round for your party members to take their weapons, take their items, take their spell focus, take their spell books, take all of the component pouches, whatever it is that they're using, and prevent the enemy from using any serious damage and be forced them into making unarmed strikes, not being able to cast spells. That is really the caveat here. That's what you want to aim for. 30 feet of you is a big range. If you're fighting a lot of people, get them to drop it. That's even just one whole round where they're not attacking you. If you and your party members can pick off 1 or 2 people in that time, that is absolutely worth it. It helps to mitigate action economy on their end. It gives you this great opportunity to capitalize on that, and it gives your party member the opportunity to do that. Also, because Channel Divinity isn't a spell, you can bonus action healing ward someone and get that extra attack into the mix. What you're starting to see is that this cleric influences NPCs and party members in a way that not many other classes do. Embodiment of the Law. At 6th level, you become remarkably adept at channeling magical energy to compel others. If you cast a spell of the enchantment school using a spell slot of 1st level or higher, you can change the spell's casting time to 1 bonus action for the casting, provided the spell's casting time is normally 1 action. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Now, a lot of enchantments are charm related. They'll go through your spell list, go through the cleric domain spells, command, the hold person, a lot of spells throughout their spell list, and really try and pick up some things that you can do. And you might be able to still capitalize, throw some cantrips out there, do something. And this is free. There's no cost to this. So if you disable someone, if you're using this socially, you can still take another action at that same time. Maybe this is about to turn into a fight. Whatever it is, it helps tip action economy into your favor. Divine Strike. At 8th level, you gain the ability to infuse your weapon strikes with divine energy. Once on each of your turns, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can cause that attack to deal an extra 1d8 psychic damage to the target. When you reach 14th level, the extra damage increases to 2d8. This is really meant to kind of keep you on par with other attacks, your cantrips, giving you a reason to be a melee fighter. Remember, you do gain heavy armor proficiency, so you do have a reason to be up there if necessary. You can be a melee fighter holding a shield and using Sacred Flame the whole time if you want. This gives you an option to do something else if you manage to find a magic item or a weapon that does a special thing to it or adds additional damage, like a flame tongue or something. Throw that on, and this will keep pretty good pace because you'll be dealing whatever 1d8 damage plus whatever else you add onto it, plus 1d8 psychic damage, which is a damage type that's very rarely resisted. And then when you hit 14th level, it'll be 2d8. So it'll really be 2d8 plus 1d8 plus whatever your modifier is. At 14th level, it could be a 4 or 5, depending on how you built. So you're looking at a pretty moderate amount of damage. It's not through the roof. Optimancers aren't really going crazy over this, but it gives you something to do in case you run out of spell slots, or you can't really use a cantrip, or you don't have cantrips necessary to do so. But you can always switch this out with Tashas and then just add your wisdom modifier to your cantrips anyway. But depending on who you want to be and the aesthetic of your character, I could see an Order Domain Cleric really running in there and hitting something. Order's Wrath. Starting at 17th level, enemies you designate for destruction wilt under the combined efforts of you and your allies. If you deal your Divine Strike damage to a creature on your turn, you can curse that creature until the start of your next turn. The next time one of your allies hits the cursed creature with an attack, the target also takes 2d8 psychic damage, and the curse ends. You can curse a creature in this way only once per turn. I just mentioned how Divine Strike, you can switch that out for the Tasha's optional thing to give you your wisdom modifier to your damage. The reason why I said that is because Order's Wrath is at 17th level, which is a pretty high level that most campaigns really don't ever get to. But if you are going to be reaching that kind of a level, definitely keep Divine Strike, and the reason is very, very clear. This attack that you land is going to do an additional 2d8 psychic damage just from your attack. Then the curse actually hits in, and whoever hits next will do an additional 2d8. So you figure with your attack, you're probably using something that's a d8 anyway, so you're probably rocking out at 3d8 for your attack, plus, at this point, I'd imagine 5, plus an additional 2d8, which is going to be a pretty big amount of damage, considering it's 5d8 plus 5, which is, at most, you're doing like 45 damage. The caveat here is if your party member has a big attack, sneak attack, they're going to Divine Smite, maybe they crit. First off, that psychic damage will crit because it's part of that target. It's part of that attack. Secondly, that's just adding on extra damage. And it's passive. It's constant. It's a good alternative to blowing high-level spells when you're fighting non-threatening enemies. When you're taking out the mobs or the smaller enemies before you fight the big ones, whatever it is you're doing, this is a great way to team up on something and really burn it down pretty quickly. Our final thoughts. The Order Domain Cleric gives you this great authority on the battlefield. It causes your allies to attack when you feel like they should be attacking. Your buffing and your healing spells do more than just buff and heal. It gives you additional damage to deal out at your whim to the enemy. You can really cause the enemy to suffer from dropping items, which is great. Obviously, you want to use that early on when you're lower level. Because that's a bigger chance for you to hit as many enemies as possible and really turn the tide of battle. Also, it gives you this great concept of letting the party know that what you do is so influential to what they do, because now you're leading. When you do things like embodiment of law, when you start forcing action economy to be changed in your favor, you get this great concept of bending the rules for your own purpose. Your divine strike has a real genuine purpose. Order's Wrath is just fun to see happen. You drop that on, and then a barbarian or something at that level hits, brutal critical, bang, bang, bang. That's a ton of additional damage. It really helps to bring something a little bit further. It's like casting a spell 1 or 2 spell slots higher than it would be normally. It's enticing because you're causing the party to move at your choice. Your Order's Wrath, you dictate who gets hit next, because they're going to want to hit that damage. They're going to want to not miss that opportunity. Your ability to heal, buff your parties with Voice of Authority, and then cause them to make an additional attack. That's 2 sneak attacks. That could be 2 smites. You know, it could be a lot of different things for different party members, but it always comes down to getting the most out of your abilities, your actions. Everything you do influences your party. And if you take a positive control of that, you have this great almost tyranny over what you can do, because people have to follow you in some way, shape, or form. And that garners this respect. And you put intimidation on it, and now you're wielding might. And that's something you don't normally get with a cleric, because you're normally built around doing something along the lines of who your domain is run by, or whatever deity you believe in. But this is order. Order is clear cut, and you know exactly how it should fall through, and you have the authority to do so because you have been blessed with this by your deity, by your order. And that is a perfect setup for a scary character, for an intimidating character, for a character when they walk on the battlefield and they're known by the enemy. That's going to cause them to change and turn their heads around. That weight is carried when you're doing role playing and things like that, because how often will you do a fight and then talk to someone? How often will you talk to someone because of what you did in a fight? There's a wonderful opportunity to role play in combat and bring combat to being more than just like an encased moment in the game, and have that really carry over and bring fighting to a very respectable and very noble opportunity for you, and have that carry so much weight outside of its own combat. And that's something you can't get with any other subclass in the game. Nothing sets you up perfectly for that like the Order Domain Cleric. That being said, we're going to bring this video to an end. If you made it all the way this far, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. Definitely check out our good friends at Dice Legion. Use the promo code Sinister and get 10% off all your purchases. And a big thank you to our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. Everything you do for us is incredible. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, check out the link in the description. And all being said and done, thank you for giving a spooky kid a chance.